Hello everyone and welcome back to Building Nations. Last episode we worked a lot on the interior of the castle grounds, kind of what they're going to look like, and it looks really nice. So now it's time to take this nice floor planning and stick it on the walls because they are very plain and don't look very good. Can add some more detail to the exterior of the castle, that's my goal. Maybe a bit on the interior walls as well, but that seems like it'll be a whole other topic, because there's a lot more variation to go on there. Also, something new, we now have World Edit. We're still in 1.16.1, but as I was informed in the comments on the last episode, there is a beta out for World Edit, so I have that now once again, which will be good. I don't know how much it'll help me out with this stuff, detailing, but maybe it will. I don't know. We'll just have to see. Alright, it's time to exterior detail. It's probably my favorite thing to do in terms of building things, just because I think it's a nice challenge of how to make stuff look interesting. So we can do that right now. You see the two windows there. I decided to push the bottom one out a block, just to add some more variation in the tower. When I do that to both sides. Then I change this awning thing. I didn't really like it to begin with, so I just kind of added some more slabs, turned some stairs around, and made it feel much better, and I like the new improved version a lot. So, these buildings on the bottom are very plain. Like, there isn't a lot going on down there. So, I wanted to do something to make them feel a bit better. You can see the bottom, it's just a flat wall. I also added those little two things to the top of the roof because I can. So, trying experimenting with a little more detail on the sides there, but nothing really stood out to me as being particularly great, so I just didn't worry about it. But then, the bottom here. So, I needed to do something because the bottom was really plain. So, I added these stone or smooth stone slab things. I tried to do an archway over the gate, and then I decided that I didn't really like that, so I didn't do it. But the reason that the smooth stone slabs work so well is because I haven't used them anywhere else. They're very eye-catching. Like, you see them very strongly because they don't really blend in with the stone brick and andesite stuff that the walls are made of. So they stand out and make a very nice thing to use to highlight stuff detail-wise, which is why I use them and they look pretty good. So in the middle here, I wanted to add a sort of emblem, and I tried to do this with glazed terracotta originally, but I just got too frustrated at it for not rotating the way I was expecting it to rotate, so I just gave up and went with regular terracotta instead. I also inset the emblem back a bit from the slab circle, or from the smooth stone circle I made, just to add more depth and make it look a little better. So, the building I'm at now, I've never really been happy with the way the door looked there, so I kind of changed the wall around and moved the door some, just to make it seem more natural and right, because it was just kind of weird before. So I kind of fixed that up, made it look a bit better. So this wall between the two like tiny roofs, I could have honestly just left it blank and it wouldn't have really made a difference. But I decided to add some windows, and I didn't actually add. I added one window, but add those little smooth stone arches and some stone brick things connecting into the roof, just for more interest. And the curved wall there was looking kind of plain as well. So I added in a smaller little walk around section of wall that connects into the little offshoot building that's there, just to both add more purpose into the offshoot building and to make the wall itself look better, because it did not look good before. Okay, so adding a little bit more detail to this roof, just a window and some stone and some fence gates and stairs, just to kind of round out the side of the building and make it look a little better. So this tall roof building, I wasn't really sure how to get a smooth transition between the wood and the stone. Really, what I should have probably done is move the wood out a block or the stone out a block, either of which would have made more sense than trying to finagle something, but I ended up finagling something, adding in those little dark stone or dark oak slab arches to kind of add some more separation and using more detail patterns in the walls. So there is a very, I wouldn't say very specific, but there is a sort of slab pattern that I use throughout this, which is like, it's a full block and then two slabs kind of offset. You can, oh, you can't see it in that building because I didn't use it, but like two slabs offset, making it look like the block is kind of shifted downward. And that pattern, I use that a lot because I really like it, so you'll probably see that some. Anyway, with this tower, inside of the tower, I had written a sign that was like, outdoor walkways, and I'm like, yeah, I should do that. So I added in this little raised section to walk on, and I wanted to keep the roof in the same spot because I feel like if I moved it around, it would have just become way too big. So I kept it in the same spot, um, adding in some supporting cobblestone wall pillars and changing the dark oak trim a little bit on the prismarine. I also added the same sort of cap that was on the other towers, so that's all looks good. So this tower was also pretty plain, but I needed to make it not plain. So I added more wall to the tower. Just big section of wall on the tower to make it kind of look like it's being supported, like it's a multi-layered tower. Just because that looks good. Adding in a trim of smooth stone slabs, and really large windows. I also added these two stone brick pillars that kind of connect into the upper level, which is like more support. It's like things are sticking out to help it lean into the ground, but not actually. So then some more detail in between the stone pillars, another window, and a little cobblestone wall pattern that really serves no function, but it looks pretty, so it's good enough for me. And then we just have to repeat this pattern on all four sides to make the tower have the finished look. Of course, some of the sides we can't really do the whole thing because there's, walls in the way, but we do what we can to try and make them even. I also decided to add a bit more of the rocks around the base just to kind of solidify it as a new structure. Okay, so this wall is very interesting because I needed to do something, but I didn't want to do the same thing that I'd done everywhere else. So I added in these sort of pillars which I'd used before, but then I decided, what if I made a walkway underneath the upper walkway? And then I was like, okay, let me do that. So I do it. I add in a bunch of like little details, walls supporting it. I add some stairs in the roof to make it seem more arched. This nice barrier. And then I struggled a lot with deciding if I wanted to keep it or not. Because as it is, the walkway serves very little purpose. It doesn't really do anything. Because like, if you wanted to get into the building that the tower is connected to, you could just walk on the upper wall. So it was just kind of like an interesting decision. In the end, I decided to keep it just because it looked cool, it added interest to the wall, and even if it didn't serve a purpose, that's okay. And not everything has to serve a purpose, but I feel like it should. I'm not sure what I would do differently if I had the choice, but yeah. So, in this flat building, I needed something. I didn't want to do the same sort of stone, smooth stone slab pattern that I did on the first towers, or the sort of stone fortifying stuff that I did on the most recent tower. So, I added a little side exit thing, curved it, added some supports, and stuck a roof on it. And that adds a lot of detail, I think. Just because, I mean, it makes sense that you'd have a sort of lookout there, even if it's not very high up. I did add some tiny pillars, but nothing major. I also added some cobblestone walls into the roof, just to add a bit more detail, and some dark oak fences, just to keep the spikes going. Something else I noticed that doesn't really relate to this, but um, I've watched F-Whip in the past, and he's used a sort of detail pattern where he does, in this type of roof that we were just doing, a cobblestone wall with a fence and then an iron bar. And previously, the iron bar wouldn't connect to the wall, so it would look like spikes. But now it does, so it just doesn't really work anymore. And I just thought that was kind of funny. So that's why I didn't add iron bars or anything, because it would connect to the cobblestone wall, and it just wouldn't look great. Yeah. Anyway, in the in this tower, I used a similar sort of detail pattern to the first two towers, but there is some slight differences, mostly in the fact that these windows are 2 blocks apart instead of only one, so there was some decision making there. I also kind of struggled with how I wanted to connect the roof to the tower itself. I didn't want to use a dark oak trim since I did that on all the other buildings, so I added in a spruce one, and did this sort of weird pattern with a nice cobblestone wall and slab on top, just to kind of bring it together, because it would look kind of weird without it. And then I did a sort of slab pattern that I did on the first two towers, and it just brings the whole thing together. So then I repeat that on all of the sides. Okay, something else, I didn't really mention this, but I feel like you could see it well enough. I have been in most cases where there was cobblestone walls making the sort of gate or fencing on top of the walls, I replaced that with smooth stone slabs, and it looks like 3,000 times better having that sort of highlight color there instead of the walls, which sort of blend into everything else, and it just doesn't look as good. So glad I did that. Anyway, this roof, I wanted to do something different than I did on the other roof that looks like this. So I tried to add some fence gate arches connecting the two sides, especially because the roof is small enough to where I could do that, um, and still have it look good. So I added in a little like roof overhang and stuff, a little window, nothing crazy. The shape of the building is kind of weird with the interior, so I didn't really have a whole lot of room to work with. Um, so that's why I kind of just did the stone pillars on the base and just moved on, because there wasn't really a whole lot I could do. And with that, we have detailed a pretty sizable portion of the exterior. And my oh my, is it looking pretty good. I really like this building. This is probably my favorite building, or favorite structure here. I don't know, I really like the way I detailed this. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. So most of the exterior detailing has been done. I left this like entire side empty just because this is kind of a topic for a separate episode, I think. Mostly for this big building, but also to do the little extra things that I have left to do. So, after all the exterior detailing is done, then we move inside, because inside is still pretty plain. It's very gray, but even now, you can see the exterior detailing I've done in some places, which makes the inside look better, I think. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. I like it a lot. And with that, I'm going to leave this here. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, leave comment any feedback you have for me, and I'll see all of you later. Bye.